Sounds good. Volume 1 and Volume 2. I think that's it. I think we're doing it. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. We're live.
Hello.
Sorry. It's so weird. OBS won't project Discord squares unless like my Discord, like if you minimize Discord, it's like, no thank you. So it's just strange. I don't know why it does that.
That's really strange.
Let's see. How do my sound levels look? I'm gonna turn the sound down. Hey everyone. Hi. We're
Hello.
we're here.
Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome to Running Wild.
That's right. Yeah, Running Wild. This is our kind of like our game recap. Oh my volume's so loud. Let me turn this down.
A little chat about like after show chat about what happened in the last session.
Yeah. And my name is Jared. I play Quinn, the Elvish Ranger, and I'm joined tonight by the fantastic Lytrenni.
Hello.
Lytrenni, you play Tisme, a Hexblood cleric of the Twilight domain, which has some implications in today's recap, which we'll get to in a little bit. How are you doing? How's East Coast, right?
Yes, East Coast. Doing pretty good. We had a bunch of thunderstorms this past week, so things cooled off finally, which was awesome. But everything's pretty okay here. What about you, Central
people? Yeah, it's been hot. It's been like 90, which is pretty hot for us, and humid, which is kind of, it's not always very humid around here. But we're doing fine. We got through 4th of July, so go America.
Yeah. Happy America.
That's Happy America. That's James's message in chat was really funny. It was like, what is it? Happy Traders Day or something like that.
Yeah.
So, James,
depends on your perspective.
Yeah, well, and he's made it from a country of rebellious ex-Englanders, right? So,
yes.
So, episode 5. Just when you thought that we couldn't have any more status effects on us,
we're just stacking them up.
We get more status effects. So, recap of 4, we're fighting. We get a little sidetracked because one of us in the party forgets which direction she's leading the group. And so we end up fighting these just mushroom monsters, basically, right? Some sort of fungi warriors, I guess. I really don't know. Like I feel like we've just dispatching strange creature after strange creature that at this point it's like I don't even know what we're fighting half the time. It's just like I don't know if it can get weirder.
Together.
Yeah. So we're taking a bit of a breath, right? And then we see some sort of quote unquote, I had to go back and listen to the description, lion, half dinosaur creature. Yeah. So
as you do,
as one does, just on a stroll through the forest. And I was rewatching the show, and very quickly I cast Hunter's Mark, and Taylor cast Pass Without a Trace. And so we have +10 to our stealth scores, and we roll like an incredible round of stealth rolls.
It's great, yeah.
And then of course, James rolls a nat 20, and fuddles whatever escape plan we had. And then right off the bat, like Esmeralda takes a big swipe in the back, and so we're in a fight. So, my thoughts were, so you've been playing for about a little over a year now? Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. What's the strangest creature you encountered? So I actually don't even remember the name of the one. It was like a It was like, you said half lion, half dinosaur, built like a Volkswagen, because Eric had to clarify which Volkswagen. So, but yeah, so like we'll get to the stink sack later, but what's the strangest creature you've ever encountered?
The strangest thing I've ever encountered. Now I'm trying to think what actually is the strangest one. I don't know if it counts as strange, just because like the settings that I've played in haven't had super weird ones. But there was there's a not a clockwork dragon. It's a library dragon, I guess you could say.
Oh, made of books.
Made of like pages from books, basically. And it doesn't breathe fire. It breathes like random text from the books, basically, that do psychic damage. Like you get hit with random pieces from different books
That's awesome.
as a breath weapon. So that was kind of a strange thing. So yeah, I can be attacked by a dragon made out of pages from a book in the library.
That is cool. I think I fought a bed dragon. So there's a cute little free one shot, I think. So, in fact, I remember this correctly. So it's a cute one shot where a person has a wand of transmutation or transformation and transforms his bed into a massive like pillow dragon. Maybe it was something crazy like that. It's a really cute. It's a free one shot that that someone ran for me at my company. It was kind of cool. Wow. So there's lots of weird dragons out there. I didn't know.
So many weird dragons.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And
yeah,
so,
this one, you've already encountered quite a few more weird ones than I've probably encountered.
I was gonna say, I think in this campaign alone, it's probably hit like 1, 2, and 3 so far of like the top weird ones. And we haven't even gotten to the Feywild yet, which is kind of horrifying to think about it.
Yeah,
so,
that's the worst part.
So this half lion, half dinosaur with this reddish mane. So I should add, these are all, most of these, if not all of them, we've met so far from Kobold Press.
Yes.
James has dipped into their just library of weirdness, which I think he's having a little too much fun with, if you ask him. If you ask me.
And they do make some incredible monsters, though.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I want to go look at the monster compendium because like I'm just very curious now. But at the same time, like I don't want to spoil anything. Like, you know, everything we meet is literally like, and I'm a new player too, so I've only been playing for like maybe as long as you have, honestly. So I don't even know all the D&D, the normal weird ones, right? And then now there's just like this whole new classification of weird. But we're doing okay against these things. And then we bunch up. And when we bunch up, we get sprayed. I think everyone, maybe Bispo was in there. Somebody gets spared. I was
spared the first time, but then they hit me later.
Yeah, so I failed. And I think Esmeralda failed as well the first time. And so it was interesting. So, alluding to what I said earlier, is you and I both have mind rot. So we are slowly slipping into fungi madness, I suppose. And then I get hit with poison. But it's not a normal poison because nothing James has done has been normal. It is a poison stink cloud, so everyone is considered poison within 10 feet of me. And so now I thought it was a cool way of like just modifying that combat dynamic some, because now we couldn't be right up on each other sometimes.
Yeah, kept forgetting though.
And then poison is just like disadvantage with attack rolls and saving throws, and it's just so annoying because, you know, we're only level 3, so I feel like we're struggling to hit anyway, and then I hit nothing else, I don't think, after being poisoned that entire game.
Yeah. And James was rolling really well also.
Yeah, and he was rolling really well. But we get this sustaining magical energy that I went back and looked takes up the entire map with a 30-foot wide radius.
Yeah, the Twilight Sanctuary.
So tell us about Twilight Sanctuary and how it basically sustained us at pretty close to like 3/4 to full health the entire game. So
Twilight Sanctuary, it's the channel divinity that you get as a Twilight cleric. And it is known for being, some people think it makes the game broken, other people just think it's the best thing in the world, depending on who you ask. But basically this sphere of dim light emanates from the Twilight cleric for a 30-foot radius out, which, as you said, is like for 1 minute.
1 minute,
yes.
Right. Which, you know, is a long time, but also if it's a boss fight, may not be a terribly long time if it's done too early.
Yes. And so on any turn that you end within the sphere, this radius of the Twilight Cleric, one of two things can happen. Either you get temporary hit points that the cleric rolls for each time, or you can choose to end an effect that is either being charmed or frightened, if you feel like it. Which would be nice going to the Feywild, because like charm is something that comes up a lot. So if you're charmed and you end your turn within there, you can just choose to end it. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's either or though, either the 10 hit points or
one or the other.
Charmed and frightened. Yeah, you know, I think it's probably really strong for our level because like you know, you could roll well and like you're like doubling Esmeralda's hit point pool.
Yes.
I'm assuming though that doesn't scale. Once you get to the point where like a breath weapon is doing like 40 points a day. I mean, every little bit helps. Don't get me wrong, but I think it balances out probably a little
For sure.
later.
And of course, temporary hit points don't bring you up from 0.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, you can't revive. You don't have like a beacon of revive. That you can just pulsate out. And plus, honestly, if James felt like we were abusing it, he'd either change it and or find ways to undermine it completely. So it's just like I'm not too worried about it. But thank God you're pumping healing out like the cool breeze of the twilight comes from you, and you're just throwing what is it, your purple crosses you've got in not tabletop simulator. Help me, Fantasy Grounds.
Fantasy Grounds, yes.
Your little red health crosses you're just throwing on everyone.
Even something to remember to do. I'll forget for like 2 rounds, and I'm like, oh, spam everyone with healing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool ability, and I feel like it definitely helped us in that battle. Even with that, it wasn't like we just dominated it and destroyed them all really quickly.
It became a slugfest because I think once I was poisoned, Esmeralda was poisoned, and then you got poisoned towards the end of the second fight. So this creature calls in its mate. So we basically beat up on one. I think someone burns it to a crisp. If I had to guess, I'd say it's Bisbo. Just knowing how he rolls. But someone burns it. And then the mate comes in. And so it's like round 2. And by then, like, I stopped even attacking. I'm just doing the help action because, like, I can't hit this thing with disadvantage. Like, and so I was hoping to, like, set up one of you guys for a crit or at least negate it. And I think you even cast Fairy Fire at one point because we're just doing everything we can to negate these status effects that we've accumulated. And then, like you mentioned, the creature still gets away, which if it was more intelligent, I'd be a little more worried about. But I guess now we've got to be mindful crossing through that leg of the forest if there's a angry ex mate running around. Attracted to the stink scent of our party, and I glossed over an oddly even grosser point, and that is Bisbo's meat spray.
Oh my gosh! How do I forget about the meat spray? Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So Bisbo, our kobold artificer, played by Eric, he lets no mundane item be mundane. He turns a ration into a some form of like Listerine like meat spray made up of, if I remember correctly, 6 random meats, he said, but he's pretty sure it's just all rats. So
yeah, there's always something thrown in there. Like Eric's always got something to put in to throw you off. So that one was interesting. Yeah, I was like, what would possess you? He said he made it up on the spot. It wasn't something that he specifically planned. So I was like, where does your mind have to go? Come up with meat spray? But yeah, it was amusing.
Yeah, he's either too good at falling into Bisbo's character, and we should all be worried, or he's always been really good at kind of flavoring that stuff on the fly. So it's not surprising to me at all. But so yeah, between the meat spray, the stink odor, and he wants us to get a stink sack at one point, which is like, because
with that poison,
probably a good thing we didn't mine any sort of stink sack, because it probably would not have come back to work out in our favor.
No.
Yeah, we're not physically beat up, but I think mentally we're beat up. And so we head back to the river to wash this nonsense off of us. What was it? So what's it like playing Lytrenni, who has mind rot? Because I struggled with it. Just because I feel like I'm still learning Quinn, and so to play Quinn, not on drugs, but like like absent-mindedly, I really just didn't know how to quite do this. And I think James says that we're just very forgetful, and we're not like brain dead per se, but like if someone didn't help us, we just walk off without our weapons, after bathing or something like that.
Yeah.
So what's a forgetful or mind rotted Lytrenni? What is she thinking about? How is she? What are her mannerisms?
No, I too wasn't quite sure where to go with it, trying to figure out like you said, they're still a new character, so trying to figure out what she would be like. The best I could think of was just kind of aloof. Like she's
Hmm.
already used to being alone, doesn't have a lot of friends, and is fascinated by everything around her. So I was just thinking of her being around and just getting distracted by like the birds and the trees, and that's a mushroom and that over there. And then every once in a while I would tune into the conversation and pick up on it and be like, oh, yeah, sure, that sounds fine. And then go back to just being completely just detached from everything that was going on. Not really able to focus on anything. That was what I came up with. But I really enjoyed your portrayal of Quinn with mind rot. It didn't feel so like it was like just the right amount of chaotic. We're like throwing things in there of like, oh, this isn't good. This is gonna be bad for all of us if we just let you go off and do whatever, without being a too high level as if you were like completely
Yeah,
just.
it's easy. I think, but it'd be easy to like derail the party completely. You know, like go a little
Hmm.
too overboard and be like, I just wander off. You know, and it's just like okay, like like it's always, and we've talked about I think this before on the show, that dynamic of like having a character and making decisions for a character, but also you're
Hmm.
playing in a group setting, and so finding
Right.
that line between like yeah, being chaotic. At some point during all of it, I just thought to myself, oh, Quinn, reserved, quiet. So like high Quinn or like off his kilter Quinn would probably be the opposite. So then I was like, oh, I'll show some love to Bisbo. He that'll throw him off. Um, yeah, it was, and we're still not cured, but I guess we get to that in a little bit. We have, I think, I don't know if it's a traditional. Do you watch a lot of like anime or like any like of those?
Ooh, I have.
So like I feel like we had an early like what is it, Steam Room
Oh, very
uh
true. Yeah.
session. Like isn't that like very traditional in a lot of animes? Where like the entire party like relaxes in a Steam Room and and talks about whatever's going
Hmm.
on. And
That character bonding moment. Yeah.
yeah, so we have it a little early, I feel like, in our party's lifespan, and two
Hmm.
of us are under the influence of fungi, mind rotting drugs.
Hmm.
Um, so it was kind of fun to just kind of see that, like, just that interesting moment, and maybe we come back to when we actually have our real one. We can actually talk
Like
more about
properly
characters. Yeah,
engaged.
yeah, because um, I mean, if you look at it from like if you zoom out and look at, I think our first 5 sessions, it has been just chaos, like just
Hmm.
constant chaos, and I like it. I think it's fun as a player. I think for poor
Hmm.
Quinn though, like this has been the most traumatic like 48 hours of his entire life. And
Yeah.
Lytrenni, like what is Lytrenni thinking? She goes from this path that she's supposed to be on to this path that she's wants to be on, but then she also doesn't really know where this path is going for.
Yeah, and like things are attacking her. Like it's like, oh, you could have chosen to go the path of life and nature and everything that's normal, and you chose to go away from that, but not expecting that the next 24 to 48 hours would just be things constantly attacking her. So she's a
Mhm.
little bit confused as to what exactly is happening, but still going along with it because that's kind of her thing. She still wants to see how it plays out, despite the fact that she's really off put with everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Um, Not quite. I mean, she's super, yeah, not the greatest intelligence and all of that. So she's looking like, oh, this is weird. This isn't normal. But it doesn't quite have isn't quite smart enough to pull out and be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do any of this.
The cleric stat is wisdom. Is that the key
Yes.
stat for clerics? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we've got that in common at least. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good wisdom, all that.
I don't know if anything else dramatic happened after that. Um,
After.
After
No.
our escape, we're recovering, we're washing off, we can
Hmm.
get some
We
get
learned
some this
apparently that
smell
Bisbo
of
has never bathed.
never bathed, almost drowned because he jumped in with all of his at least some of his tinkering equipment on.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and his oil kind of washes off his skin. I did hear that part again very 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 briefly, and he's like likes the buildup of it. So he probably smells just kind of in general, if I had to guess. Um,
But yeah, I think that was after we finished there, we kept walking along until we got to the bridge to cross the river with the towers.
right. Yeah, and so we find these like this bridge and these overwatching towers. But I
Mm-hmm.
think someone notices that there's been no lumber handiwork around here, and the forest is actually settled very nicely, and the inn looks very well kept, maybe perhaps more well kept than we thought. And of
Just
course,
not.
yeah, what are you thinking as a player, and what is Lytrenni thinking as Tisme thinking as a character here walking into this?
As a player, like the alarm bells start going off where you're like, this seems weird, I don't understand. Um, as a character, as Tisme, again that balance with the mind rot especially, but also just with her general thought process, she notices that things seem a little weird, but not enough quite to act on it. So she looks
Yeah,
and she's like, oh, that's not what that was supposed to look like. Oh well, guess we're gonna go. And that was like about the extent of it.
yeah. What's
Um,
weird even at this point too, right? Like, what's the frame of
yeah.
reference with given everything going on? You know, a house like that's weird to us. You know, not
Mhm.
really.
And she's very like like curiosity killed the cat is like basically her under her like personality traits, like it's just that.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime something like that comes up, she just wants to keep going and look at it and figure out what's going on, which will be a problem, but so yeah, that's kind of what Tisney was thinking. What about Quinn?
Um, yeah, I think I didn't even Jared the player didn't think anything was immediately necessarily wrong. I mean, the lack of lumberjacking in the area made me kind of think that maybe this druid had like stopped doing whatever he was doing, and maybe we were gonna walk in on kind of like I think of like Thor in the Final Avengers, where like he's given up on his purpose in life, and he's like all fat and like and I thought maybe that's what we were gonna walk into with this druid, was like someone just given up on whatever his life task was. Quinn, I mean, he's a city boy, sheltered, kind of pampered. He just says he has no clue. He has no clue what any of this stuff is. And again, us two both the mind rot like duo, like no clue. I think he storms up and like goes to knock on the door just because like it's a house. This is where we're supposed to be going. Like this is everything seems like it's in order here. Um, yeah, I mean, Quinn still gives me a lot of hiccups. I feel like, but in terms of like what he's feeling or thinking,
Mm.
but we're getting there. We're getting there. I have some deep night thinks as I read my Midgard world book and learn more about my kingdom and my castle and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say you were flexing some of that knowledge in the last episode
yeah,
too.
yeah. I was like, well, it was fun. I felt like understanding where he came from would kind of help me understand what his perception is, right? Because he comes from a town of like a million people,
Mm.
and
Oh
then like
wow.
yeah, like 3/4 of them, if not more, are human, and then there's like some elvish, like kind of mixed in there. And I was reading that these kingdoms they use these back doors through the Fey to travel, and so like even it's very risky because like there's been
Mhm.
people hijacking these backdoor roads and stuff like that. I hope I'm not giving anything away, James, so he can't tell me no right now. But it was built into the lore. I think that was kind of a very common method of travel around here,
Mhm.
um, and so I thought that was interesting. So I was doing some deep research to try and figure out what Pretty Boy Quinn is up to. Speaking of pretty, I'm not going to show them on the stream today because I think that James would want to be around. But we have portraits done,
Oh yes, yes we
and
do.
they are very pretty.
It's
And
very
we will
exciting.
we will reveal those probably next Monday. Um, as soon as James is ready, I have to figure out how and where we're going to put them. I thought it'd be kind of cool to like maybe put them in the corner, like right where our names are. They can
Hmm.
like sit over the names, kind of. I'll have to play with it some. Um,
But
we
yes,
got all those done, and they're exciting and they're very nice.
they're
Anyway,
so awesome. They turned out great. But yeah.
yeah, and it was so fast too. Like he was like, bam, 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 sketch, 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 and I was like, all right, well, this guy's awesome. I was like in my head, I was like, I should just get the full body thing, but I was like, wait. Uh, so yeah, so we come across this place, and it's not
Mhm.
until I think the second time that I hear, "What a lovely afternoon," or whatever James was saying. It's a lovely afternoon here, and I was like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
This is a murder central. This is like, classic. You go to one person goes to the bathroom and it's a trap and they're dead and you just get picked off one by one. I was like, it was pretty uneasy. Have
Same.
you? Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I had the same reaction. The first time, I knew something was a little bit weird, but I didn't know it was that type of weird. If that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah. No.
But yeah.
Right. I was like, I'm not familiar with any of this stuff. Taylor is our resident Fae. She knew immediately. I think both the character and I think, which is really cool that she's playing both a person who's from the Feywild and a person who's, and she loves that sort of story in the Feywild lore. Both character and Taylor knew right away. I think that this was some sort of Fey-in trap thing going on. But,
Yeah.
we don't, and I can hear and see James in the background rolling dice, and I'm like, oh man, like this isn't gonna shake out for one of us. And then of course I think it was Quinn that kind of goes off the kilter first.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
Yeah,
Bisbo was shortly after, which surprised me. I thought
that'd be me next.
I thought it'd be you next, or I thought that you three would get out, and it would just be me in there, doing what I'm doing, whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, you're now gainfully employed by the cerulean.
It could be worse. They seem nice. There seems to be food. Hopefully they'll cure my mind rot. Otherwise, I don't know if it'll matter. I'll just walk out and become. I'll have to find a mushroom class and character sheet, I guess, and just become a mushroom person.
Yeah, that's just you're not having a good time.
Yeah, he's hurt, but that's okay. You've got lesser restoration at some point.
True. Yeah, need a long rest, but
just need a long rest. And then speaking of long rest, because I don't know that I don't think there's too much else to really discuss. I mean, it's a beautiful inn. There's clearly some sort of weirdness. This person's on repeat, trying to get us to eat and drink something. This little, I think it was a gnomish, like server, basically.
Yes.
Host.
Did you have any ideas about how to, like, as it started to dawn on all of us that, like, ooh, this is not a good situation, even though as, like, Tisme as a character was just like, oh, this is kind of weird, but again, wasn't going to do much of anything. Me on the outside was trying to figure out, like, how are we going to get out of this? But my brain started spinning of, like, can we cast anything? Can we just walk out? Do we have to burn the whole place to the ground? Were you thinking of that, or were you just kind of like...
I think I had no spells, so I had exhausted all of my spells to get through that last fight. For better, for worse, I think I don't remember which my last Hunter's Mark might have been my last one to keep track of the beast. But so I knew that, like, utility wise, I wasn't going to be of any good. And then I had Mind Rot, and so it's just like I was playing support to, like, the people that knew what was going on, like maybe Bisbo and Taylor, or Bisbo and Esmeralda. So I was like, I didn't give it a lot of thought, honestly. I was just like, we're just gonna ride this puppy out, and probably not the best player, probably not the best teammate to, like, not be thinking about it. But I was like, this seems like how things should happen, I guess. So I don't know.
Solid.
Yeah. No, I really. I guess we could have attacked someone, but I have no clue. The rules of this stuff, like I said, Esmeralda seems to know very quickly that, like, they can't make us stay. It'd be rude, so they can't be rude. I don't know. I don't know. I'm being bested by a house, like, already. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. Yeah. So I had no idea. What about, like, what were your options? Like, do you have any spells left at all either?
One, and I think it's a first level spell slot, so I don't have much other than just tacking something that really would have helped. Which was part of the problem, that, like, anything that I possibly could have done, I was like, if I had, like, a charm, I don't have charm person, but if I had, like, something like that, would that work? But then I don't even know if these are people or not, or if they're just constructs created by this house. Like,
how many times can you channel divinity?
At my level, only once.
So no free get out of charm card, because that would have been an option. Just, like, pump that. And it's a long rest, right?
Oh no, it's a short rest. We did do that.
Metagaming.
Oh, accidentally.
Yeah, it is actually it's fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Again, Tisme in character with the mind rot probably won't think of that. But
yeah, right. Make you roll for it.
yeah. And who knows if it's is it a normal charm effect? Is there something like I don't actually know what it is. I was just spinning through all of the options.
Yeah, I do remember him saying that like he's gonna treat charmed a little differently because it's such a predominant status effect in this setting. So like you know a matter of he's gonna do a lot of the rolling behind the scenes, I think, rather than have us roll, because I just don't think he wants it to affect our actions, because a lot of it's passive charming, right? And so like he's trying to keep it that way. So I don't know if it's different or not, you know. It could be like poison stink sack, where it's poison but with you know with a little asterisk on the end.
Little twist, yeah.
Yeah, a little twist. So I think where we left off, Taylor and Bisbo are clamoring to get out of there. No, Taylor and you are clamoring to get out of there. And Bisbo and I are new servants of the Cerulean Inn.
Apparently. And I guess we're gonna leave and then come back. I have no idea.
You know, start making a new character. You know, just
that quick.
Just right after the portraits are made. Actually, James, I'm gonna need a new portrait. So
yeah, Quinn's just gonna stay there.
I think when you guys come back, depending on how long it is, Quinn's gonna be like completely like well dressed, hood down, like all his like features like exposed and like hair tied nicely and like you know he's
but also growing mushrooms.
But maybe like a mushroom growing out of his temple. Oh god.
Who knows what's gonna happen? I have no idea. Yeah. And are all those people who were trapped? Like there are layers. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. I'm assuming that everyone in there has been stumbled across there some way, shape, or form. Because we saw about 3 people, I think, 3 or 4 total.
Yes, I can think of. There was the kind of hostess. There was a bartender of some sort, or a cook of some sort. And there was at least 2 other individuals, I believe, that were in there. Someone was playing an instrument, and I think there was a 4th, but I don't remember off the top of my head. We'll find out. But yeah.
Yeah, might have to go back. I have to go back and rewatch that section. Yeah, we'll have to find out. Next Monday, we should be back on schedule. We did hear that we are 1 long rest away from a new level, which is level 4, which is super exciting because that is a feat or ability score. And you and I were talking a little before this. What are you thinking? Ability score? You're going to dump it all into intelligence? Get your intelligence up?
Or wisdom, I think, because my wisdom's already pretty. Oh yeah.
That's because your
I'll dump it in
charisma
charisma, even better.
There you go.
Yeah, my charisma is a solid 7. So we'll see.
That's nice.
Yeah, no, I was considering that, but also considering. I mean, that would make sense, obviously. You know, I think my wisdom is already at an 18. So if I dumped it in there, I'd be at a 20 already, which would be awesome. But at the same time, something I noticed during the last fight with the lion dinosaur is that we have a very ranged party, and especially with Taylor with Esmeralda getting caught up close, I forgot how low her hit points were, and like with 1 hit, she was down to half her hit points, which was 9, whereas I had a lot more. So I was realizing like, oh, you're a ranged fighter. She needs to be at range, especially with all of her hit points. Bisbo's all over the place. If anyone could be up close, it's me. If for anything else, and like I've got more hit points than some other people do to kind of soak that in. So I was trying to think of anything that would make it a bit easier if I'm going to take some hits and still be casting out things like Bless or whatever. So like Warcaster, for example, making it easier for me to hold on to those concentration checks, things like that. That's how I lost Fairy Fire. So
it's such a clutch. It's a clutch feat. It's so good. And we also, you and I were talking before, is we had access to the Kobold press feats. And so there's about, let me just scroll through, 30 feats in here.
I'm excited to look through these because they've got some cool names, and everything from Kobold Press is so cool. So
I wish I would have leaned more, I think, into their... Well, I did get a Kobold Press background, too, actually, so that's kind of cool. I'm just scanning through to see if there's anything just jumps off the page as... Okay, 30 was an exaggeration. There's about 15 in this one, I think. Maybe...
Oh, I have more than 15 here.
Oh, man, maybe I missed it. Maybe I skipped. You know, one thing, too, that I forgot the Kobold Press added, that I forgot was a thing, is weapon flourishes. So you can, like, for melee characters...
Oh.
There's a whole section of like, what weapon do you use? So if you use like a mace or whatever, you get access to weapon specific actions you can do. Like for I have a pinning effect that I can do if I throw a throwing knife against clothing. I can stick it in someone and they're pinned in that area until they shrink to remove it. That's actually pretty useful, you know, considering we haven't really fought any characters with clothing quite yet. But
nope, mushrooms and dinosaurs.
There's a ton, yeah. Your typical D&D campaign. Mushrooms and dinosaurs. Let's see. Some dragon stuff. That'd be fun. Unthreatening. That sounds like a Bisbo spell.
There's an interesting one. It's called Paincaster that I have.
Oh God, that sounds incredible.
Which basically helps you if you get damaged while you're concentrating on a spell, which I think is an interesting way to do that to balance. So like if you're concentrating on a spell, you're immune to charm and frighten.
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
That's awesome. Wait a minute, are you in the Midgar's Hero Handbook?
No.
Or are you on the website?
I'm on the website. So
that's my problem. I'm dealing in static information here. I need to go to the website here.
I think it has more.
I forgot. It does have a ton more. Oh my goodness. All right, well that changes some things.
But yeah, so there's a lot of options here. Also, the name Paincaster just sounds really cool.
It sounds really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out now.
I know you mentioned not to give away spoilers, but there are some cool feats here that have to do with different player backgrounds that can fit in very specifically. There's
some ley line specific feats, which I think I will probably dabble in just because they're useful too, but they fit. You know, they kind of fit. So, yeah, it's exciting stuff. I think I heard some whispers of multi-classing in chat at some point.
Oh yes.
And yeah, I love level 4, level 3, and level 4, kind of the two. Although I think you get your stuff at level 2, don't you? Your divinities. Your
Oh yeah, clerics start at level 1 is when they
start level 1, yeah.
Class. So you get it from the get-go.
Yeah. So for most other classes, I think it's level 3. And then 4, yeah, you get to amplify whatever you're doing with a feat to try and or an ability score to try and change your gameplay up or enhance your gameplay, which is really cool.
For sure.
So who knows? Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, did you have any thoughts about maybe not at this point, but in the future in terms of just your character build in general, like multi-classing or anything? Oh, you do? Okay.
I do, yeah. And I think
boy.
I know, I'm excited. It's one of those things where like I try not to get too excited because multi-classing, because I will go to level 5 because that's when you get your extra attack. And then I have so many things that give me advantage on attacks that I think I'm gonna start to dabble in the rogue.
Yeah, which is a nice has nice synergy with.
Yeah, because then I can take the rogue, take the double attack, take the advantage, and then have like sneak attack like very, very frequently, and leverage some extra damage. So Quinn would probably be like a glass cannon, like hopefully like all attack with some utility spells. But who knows? Anything could change. I think for me, I don't really make like super meta builds. It would just kind of, where's the story take us, and what does that? I mean, there's other ranger subclasses that are cool, like Fey Wanderer, that fit in this realm very nicely. Yeah. So I don't know how any of that would work. You can do anything, I guess, with the D&D magic, but yeah. So I was definitely looking at some rogue stuff, and but I said that's a future Quinn. I don't even know. I'm trying to get rid of mind rot and
get out of this
and get out of this prison. Yeah. What about you? Have you thought about like multi-classing at all, or?
No, I in general don't multi-class. Because usually like whatever I've chosen, I want to see what the high level abilities get to, and I just want to get there as fast as possible. But for narrative purposes, I have looked at some things and been like, oh, if this were to happen in the future, that could be an interesting thing to multi-class
That
into,
would
or
be
if this were
terrible.
to happen. But who knows? Maybe I'll just be a cleric barbarian, and that'll be the
Fuck
be,
yes.
be strange, but I'd be into it. So yeah, I haven't thought deeply about it. I think it'll just be more like where the narrative goes. Although with the Hexblood, that's already going to take things in a weird direction.
That's
so
true. That's true. I mean,
can't plan anything.
that's such an interesting dynamic. That's really cool how that worked out. And you've got your hidden horns, and your portrait turned out really nice.
And it's only going to get worse. Poor character.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I think I think that's coming up on time. Is there anything else you want to discuss or talk about or get out into the ether?
I don't think so. I think we covered the last episode pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll be it for us then. I think on Running Wild episode 5, we'll be back next Monday at our usual time. Actually, we might be a little later. We talked about maybe bumping it back a little bit. So maybe probably 8:30 Central. So you're gonna have to drink your coffee on your end.
I will get all of my super caffeinated dark black Earl Grey tea.
Into sessions for me, I'm like, it's like 11:30. I'm already like, oh, this is good. I'm so old now that like it's like, oh. Yeah. If it wasn't for the D&D and the booze, I probably would have passed out now before. But yeah, so we'll probably be 8:30. We'll probably have some sexy portraits. And have to come and find out what are we dealing with in this crazy inn. Which characters are not going to make it out, and then hopefully like what's our level, what are we leveling up and doing, and what's the next steps. So lots of cool stuff.
It's going to be an exciting time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much as always for joining me, Lytrenni.
Yes, thank you.
And I will see you next time.
Yes.
Bye everyone.